Yeah.
You're going to be able to bet on kickoffs next season. And if you're betting on kickoffs because there'll be a higher return rate, you better be using FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Also on FanDuel, you can say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel is letting you bet on every game of the NCAA tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started today. The first rule I want to talk about, Bull.
Yes.
This got feisty in our pre-show meeting. I had to have a cease and desist between you and Tyvis.
Yeah.
The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle. I will give Tyvis the floor first.
Go ahead, Tyvis.
Tyvis, your thoughts on the NFL banning the hip drop?
Thank you, McNuggets. So my thoughts on it is, and I don't care what Bull say. Anything that Bull says after what I'm about to say, don't believe him. He's lying. But anyways.
I was going to agree with you, so I guess I'm lying about that.
Let me be serious.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm upset with it because, like, first of all, it's too murky. You know, you send a whole video out about what you don't want to see, and then you'll put another video out there saying that this is okay, and it looks the same. And as a defender, the worst thing you could do is cause confusion to a defender, you know. And my thing is, I always go to just a regular slant, just a slant. A receiver runs a slant, and you got to run him down. Of course, you're going to end up wrapping him up by the waist, bringing him down, and that's considered a hip drop now. And that's so everybody's going to run slants now. If you're going up, what about that corner that's a $185 that's got to go up against this 255-pound tight end? How do they get this man to the ground? Like, it's a lot of things that just doesn't make sense. And it always seems to be that they always are looking to handicap the defense. The defense is already hard as a defender. Like, you've done everything to make this an offensive game, because I get it. Everybody comes to see the deep ball. Everybody comes to see long touchdowns. Whoop-de-doo. But that's the reason we play defense, is to stop these things. And we've come up with so many different ways and been creative enough to get these stops. And it seems like every single year y'all do everything y'all can to make it so it makes it even harder for a defense to succeed in this league. And y'all do nothing for the offense. Y'all, like, they just completely can do whatever it is that they want to do. So the hip drop thing to me is stupid. They should have never did it. Yes, a couple of people get hurt a year, but you know what? They get hurt in other ways every year as well. So I think this is a dumb rule ban. It's another way to handicap a defense, and I don't see the point of it at all. I really don't.
All right. So the reason I got aggravated before the show is not because I think the rule is good and necessary, because I don't give a crap about the rule. I actually agree with your general point that the rule is stupid. When I saw the video of what a hip drop tackle was, I was like, I don't understand. It just looks like a regular tackle to me. I was completely confused. What I can't stand is that every time, I agree, it's a stupid rule change. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's that big a deal, because the NFL reported it happened on average once per game, so I don't know that it's making that big a difference. What I can't stand is that every time there is a defensive rule change, you have defensive players on Twitter, you have fans on Twitter, oh, I'm not going to watch it, let's get them flag football. You're all going to watch it, the players are still going to play, stop whining and crying about it. That's life. You're getting paid a lot of money, deal with it. I'm just sick of the complaints. Stop saying you're going to stop watching the game. Nothing that happens in football is stopping anybody from watching the game.
Have people really said, I'm going to stop watching the game because they took out hip drop tackles? Have people said that?
Yeah, you don't want to look at anything on Twitter.
I do.
From fans.
I don't look at my mentions from Twitter.
No, the fans, there's such an overreaction, and it's annoying. I find that more annoying than these stupid rules.
I didn't see nobody say that, but I did see all the defensive players say the same thing I said. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, y'all.
Of course it's ridiculous.
My thing is, the Tush push was on the ballot, but y'all let that pass.
Yeah. Well, no one's getting hurt with the Tush push, are they?
It's very violent. 1 yard. It's a very violent one play. Very violent.
Wait till the difference starts handing out knives.
What's the difference between that and like a wedge buster? Like, you got guys flying over the top, running smack dead into somebody.
I agree. As much as I yelled and screamed before the show, I agree it's stupid. They shouldn't have added it.
Here's my one concern.
We'll get over it.
Then they you get fined and flagged for it.
Well, I know
There are too many fines in the
Like,
NFL.
come
It's
on,
ridiculous.
man. I'm going to
It's
get
ridiculous.
fined for making a tackle.
Yeah, it's
like,
stupid.
that's dumb.
I agree with you
To
there.
try to help my team win in a game that's a game of inches, I'm going to try to get this man to the ground, but it's going to cost me $25,000. Like, that's ridiculous, man. Y'all absurd with some of the stuff that y'all do. It really, like, I understand the helmet to helmet thing, like that's right to CTE and that's concussions. I get that, but this right here, that's ridiculous, man. Y'all do everything y'all can for them, but can y'all ban something? Maybe ban stiff arms. How about that? Some of them is very violent on stiff arms. Well, how about a runner can't lower his shoulder and try to run nobody over? Maybe that's violent on a defender, but y'all, that's okay to do. That's what I'm saying. Y'all listen to that and y'all be like, that's blasphemy, Tyvis. Why would they want to get rid of that?
Never.
Same thing with a hip drop. Why would you want to get rid of that? That's dumb.
It is.
Here's the one thing where I think, like, they can hide behind player safety, and it's for player safety.
That's not the case.
I don't know. I tend to agree with you. I don't think they really care about player safety in the end. But here's the one thing where it feels like unintended consequences and a slippery slope maybe is, I'll go back to the NBA 20 years ago when they changed the rules defensively and how you could guard. And they really they were trying to open up the scoring was low. Now that's not the problem in the NFL, but scoring in the NBA was low. They were trying to get higher
scoring in the
scoring
NFL
games.
has been going down a little bit.
Well, in the NBA, Jerry Colangelo and David Stern were adamant. Like, the vote failed once, and they said, no, we're going to pass this. Get back to the table. We're going to do this. And what started with maybe good intentions of opening up the game 20 years ago has led to what you see today, which is many cases unwatchable.
Right.
And I just worry with the NFL as they try and, you're right, everything is predicated on the offense. How do we get more scoring? How do we get more excitement? And some of these moves in a vacuum may not seem like a big deal, but when you add one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, my fear is 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the NFL is facing some of the problems that the NBA is, where what do you do?
But isn't the NBA still doing well?
Well, that's
Not compared to football,
but I mean, like, look at All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a drastic example,
Right.
but look at All-Star Weekend. Like, that is very much the starting point of that was what I'm talking about with Jerry Colangelo and David Stern. Now you get it to where no one's trying and they're just walking down and jacking threes.
Right.
It was never like that
But don't
before.
you think that? I mean, I find a lot of NBA unwatchable personally, and I think people my age and older do.
Yeah.
But I think young people still love
don't
the
know.
NBA as much as ever. No,
I don't know.
I don't
Not according to the ratings.
I don't
Like,
know either.
No, it's not. I mean, the high point recently was the Cavs Warriors finals, I think. I don't know if that's been surpassed or not, like the 2016 finals.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been trending down since then.
Like, boy, you don't miss going to the game and seeing a good big hit.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
You don't see them no
I hear
more.
you. And
Like that.
yes.
That's what about us? Like,
What about
as a
us?
defender, what do we look forward to? What is the one thing that we could get the crowd to go?
Rules are not
"Ooh,"
made
and "Ah,"
for
about?
players.
Yes,
They
it
don't.
is.
The league doesn't care about the players. You know that.
They care about getting sued by the players.
Yeah, that's
That's the only thing they care
I
about.
think
Yeah.
they do
They
care
only
about
care
that.
about money. That's all the owners care about. What they make.
Big hits get you money.
Big kids get you sued.
That do too.
that costs you money.
It's a fact.
The league, even though ratings ratings went up again last year, but a lot of good quarterbacks didn't play, and I don't think this hip tackle is going to make any difference, hip drop, but
I gotta see it.
they do want to keep quarterbacks healthy. I'll tell you that.
Like, I got to see it because I was reading that it only applies when you land on their legs.
Isn't it mostly,
Like, that's dumb.
Isn't it mostly, and maybe I'm way off on this, when you're catching guys from behind?
Yeah.
So it
Or
wouldn't
the
really
side.
apply, it wouldn't really apply to quarterbacks, right? Like, you're not
No,
really bringing a quarterback
no.
down on a hip
Maybe
drop.
Josh Allen.
Unless
But that's the
Lamar's in
thing.
the open field running away.
Right.
Like,
not
that's the
stacked.
thing.
Right.
You're taught. So this is the thing. So everybody's into the rugby style tackling, and I was too. I learned it at Ohio State, and I learned it in Seattle. That's literally what the NFL is trying to implement: this rugby style tackle, using your shoulder. But what you don't realize is you only can tackle like that when it's head on. A lot of the times, I say 85% of tackles that's made in games are from angles. It's an angle tackle.
Right.
And a lot of the times, that's wrapping and rolling. So now I'm going to wrap him and I'm going to roll. But if I land on his legs, it's a penalty. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So 85% of the tackles I'm not going to make?
No, it can't be that simple.
Bull, think about it. The game is not played north and south anymore.
No. I'm saying it can't be that if you make a regular tackle and you land on his legs, it's a penalty every time.
You better read it. I swear that's what I read yesterday.
All right, you've won me over.
It makes no. Thank you.
I'm gonna stop watching football.
I didn't say. You know what? That's what we need. We need to boycott it.
Yeah.
The whole defense needs to boycott it.
This really goes back to me because I don't like J.J. Watt. I think he's a phony. I don't like that he tried to get his brother the.
I don't think he's a phony.
I have no idea.
You don't like that he tried to get his brother the award?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't like his brother. I don't like the Watts. I'm anti-Watt.
What about Derek?
I don't know. He's meaningless.
Bull,
He just
before
retired,
the show,
actually.
Yeah.
when you and Tyvis were getting into it, sometimes that's why we got to separate y'all beforehand so we can.
I know, but I wasn't really worked up about the rule. It was more, me on a rant about.
He talking
people
about
that
the
were annoying
defensive
me.
players that's always
They're
complaining.
always complaining. It's just like,
But you gotta.
whatever.
It's because you're not a defensive player at heart. Like you gotta think.
No.
They're you can't sit there and tell me that every other
you're
year
right.
don't seem like they're taking something away from the defense.
You're right, 100%. If I had been talented enough to play in the NFL, I definitely would have been an offensive player. I would have been like a guard.
You want the glory?
No, because I'd been a guard or something. But I don't want to be tackling anybody. I want to protect the
guards get the chances when the running back goes
Yeah.
in and scores. Sometimes they
Yeah.
hand the ball to the guard and they get to spike it.
Yeah.
And maybe guards, Bowl, will be on the field in the NFL's new kickoff rule that was officially adopted. We had spoken about this on a previous show. They're adopting the XFL kickoff rule. We have a video of what it'll look like, and if you want to play
What's funny is the new UFL has gotten rid of this rule.
Did they?
But it starts, the players are 5 yards apart. You cannot move until the returner catches the ball. It eliminates the head-on contact. There was one kick return touchdown in the XFL last season, but teams averaged 5 to 6 kick returns per game, so it's bringing it back in the game. If the ball goes into the end zone, a touchback now brings it out to the 30-yard line. It was initially proposed to the 35. It was amended. It now comes to the 30. This makes Naheem Hines and the signing of him even more valuable as one of the premier returners in football in 2022.
Well,
What do you guys?
We don't know if he's still the premier returner.
It could be,
He
but I'm
didn't
just
play
saying it
last
adds
year,
another
but-
element to the game.
Was he?
Are you guys fans of the new implementation of the kickoff rule of the NFL?
Now, there's more to it. If it just lands, so if it goes in the end zone,
It goes back to the 35.
it goes to the 30.
30, excuse me, 30. 30.
Where are they?
Right, that helps the
Where are they
offense.
kicking it from?
Either the 30 or the 40.
They're
Do you
kicking
guys want to
off.
hear? Do you want to see a
30 or
full
40?
video from Jeff Darlington? Did a full? It's 2 minutes.
Yeah, let's see this. Let's
And
watch
we
this.
play the Jeff Darlington video. He did this on ESPN this morning. A very good explanation of the new kickoff rules. Steve, you can play it.
The National Football League wants to juice things up while still pursuing their continued desire to improve safety on the game's most dangerous play, the kickoff. 2 major rule changes at this year's annual league meetings are being considered. The first and most significant, the NFL is considering adopting the kickoff rules used by the XFL after the NFL saw kick returns on just 22% of kickoff in 2023. Under the new rule, the kicker would remain in his normal spot. The rest of the kickoff team would line up on the receiving team's 40-yard line, and the receiving team would line up 5 yards away on their 35-yard line. Nobody would be allowed to move past those lines until the ball is touched or reaches the target zone, the area from the 20-yard line to the goal line. The next proposal would also impact the kickoff. After only 5.2% of onside kicks were recovered in 2023, and just 2 surprise onside kicks, the competition committee is looking for some give and take. The new rule would allow the kicking team to utilize an unbalanced formation, with 6 players on one side of the kicker and 4 on the other, to raise the odds of a recovery. But in order to do so, the kicking team would be required to declare their intentions of an onside kick before the play. That's necessary since that other kickoff proposal has a new setup zone. As a result of these proposals, touchbacks could also change. If the ball is kicked into the end zone, the receiving team gets it at the 35-yard line. If the ball is kicked into the target zone and rolls into the end zone, the receiving team possession would start at the 20-yard line. If all this feels a little complicated, you're not alone. It isn't easy to create more action with less injuries. But if these proposals end up being passed, it's because the league's owners believe this new approach will accomplish both.
And like I said, he said the 35 in that clip.
It's
it
the
was
30.
amended when it passed. It's now to the 30.
So now, if the ball is in the what he said originally, the players can't run until it's caught or it's touched, or in the target zone.
Like if it lands and bounces.
Right. He should have clarified that. Okay. Now, so what if it goes out of bounds in the target zone? That's still a penalty, right?
Yes.
So if it lands in the target zone, it's
a free ball.
It's a free ball.
Like if it lands and starts to roll.
Yeah.
Once it touches the ground, the blockers and stuff can move. It's like a squib
But
kick, essentially.
if it's in the target zone, they changed the rule recently where even if the ball landed before, well, no, that's not true. If the ball lands inside the 10-yard line, you got to pick it up and run it.
Yeah, because it's a free ball, or you could let it roll into the end zone, but at that point, there's no advantage. This is encouraging kick returns.
Right, because if it goes into the end zone, it's actually because it's been the 25.
It's the 20 now if it rolls.
It's now either the 20 or the 30.
It used to be the 20.
It was the
changed it.
20.
Now they're going
It's
back
been the
again.
25. Now it's going to be, if you kick it into the end zone, it's on the 30.
Well, two things on this.
Wasn't that like that last year?
No, it's 25.
25.
And they wanted to make it 35, but they've made it 30 instead. Yeah. So now, in recent years, it's been all about, for the most part, kicking it through the end zone.
Yes.
Well, now we're never going to see that again, at least not on purpose.
Good.
And so there will be returns.
You know what that means? Special teams players you finally get some demons. You'll finally see
right.
them earning more
Well,
money.
you don't want to hear what I think about this.
Go ahead. You don't like it? It's confusing.
Just take possession at the 30. Get rid of
Shut
kickoffs.
up.
Get rid of them.
Shut up.
Get rid of them.
Why would you want to cut somebody's job like that?
What is the purpose? What's the purpose?
I actually like it. I think this is going to create some excitement on the play.
Shut up.
I'm telling you. Just get rid of it. Take after a score, you get possession at the 30.
But that's not happening. But what I like about this, Tyvis, what do you think about this? What is your opinion on this? It's confusing, but once we get used to it, what do you think of it?
I like it because it does give you the opportunity to see kick returns. I tell you what, whoever you could better be good with your hands on this one.
Wow.
Because if you not.
No, you're right. I'm saying wow.
Oh, I thought you were saying like pause.
No,
wow.
no.
But yeah, you got to be able to two gaps somebody throw it to the side to be able to make a play. It does take the collisions out. Obviously, people will still try to run straight through you for 5 yards apart, but obviously they can't get that.
So I have ADD and I zoned out. So what is why not just kick it through the end zone like they do anyway?
Because you'll get it at the 30.
It's going to be at the 30. Whereas if it lands between the 20 and the goal line,
yeah.
You either have to return it, or if it rolls into the end zone, if you drop it at the 2 and it rolls into the end zone, the offense starts at the 20.
You can't pick it up.
No, you can, but if you're whatever, or you get down to the end zone,
it's encouraging
it's at
you
the 20
to return the ball.
So
it's essentially.
You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like the NBA in-season tournament to me.
Just
a bunch of nonsense.
I like it. It is very complicated.
It makes it safer without eliminating.
And it's very unusual for the NFL to make this is a pretty drastic rule change.
Very drastic.
It is,
and it's very complicated.
This is a 1-year trial.
Yeah.
This was adopted for 1 year. They're going to revisit it to vote on whether or not to make it a full-time
Good. Next year
forever
they'll just
change,
start at the 30.
or if it's going to go back to how it was.
The commissioner apparently liked it and was pushing for it. I'm going to be interested to see if we're going to see some trickery on these. Like, you can have 2 return guys, right?
Well, let me take this tag board full, and Steve. Watch, this was from the St. Louis Battlehawks this year. It'll replay in 1 sec. But this was a double reverse they took to the house last season. This was one of the ones that went off. But there you could have 2 returners back there. You could do whatever you want. This started with 1 returner. He's going to catch it, go to the left, a little reverse action, and this guy's going to take it to the crib. So there definitely is some
I
things
mean, we
you
have
can
that now,
implement here.
though. You can do that now.
Oh, he out of
You
there.
see a lot of double reverse. Not a lot, but you see double reverses now.
I'm just saying you can get a little more
boy
creative
all
now
got walk.
in ways that maybe you weren't able to previously under the
Right,
NFL
because
rules.
there's more opportunities to return the ball. And in recent years, as you said, it was only 20% returns. Well, that number's going to go. What percentage of returns were there in that league?
Give me a sec. I can look that up.
Bring the wedge and the wedge busters
I
back.
mean, I like it. I think it's interesting.
There you go, Jason. Bring the wedge busters back. They put that 3-man wedge. You got that dude that run down and run straight through the heart of it, throw himself right at his head.
Yep.
Boom! Concussion for everybody. Get up, smell the salt, and get back in there because it ain't no such thing as a concussion.
Or just give the ball to 30, and off you go.
Get up.
That would help the offense again. This could help the offense, but it could also help the defense. This rule could help the defense because if you have a good kicker that can place the ball, and they're starting at the 20.
I don't have a
25.
problem with it because, like I said, it shows you can still throw your dude to the side, go out there and make a tackle.
Right.
Now, make sure you're careful how you tackle this man because it will be east and west.
Right.
So please make sure that you don't hip drop him. That's the
yeah.
only thing on this. I don't want to see
No
guys
hip
getting
drops.
a 15-yard penalty and getting fined $25K. So maybe they do need to just put it at the 30.
And what's interesting is it's a big advantage for the return guy because he's in motion. Everybody else can't move. They're just they got to go, and he's in motion.
Which
already
means that a
moving.
lot of the times the tackles is going to be hip drops.
Probably. Mike?
Two more rules real quick
Yeah.
I want to touch on before we talk Cavs for a sec and then Guardians. But you can now challenge a third time if only one of your first two challenges are
Right.
successful, and they've pushed the trade deadline back 1 week.
Oh, they did do that today?
1 week. Not the 2 weeks that Andrew Berry proposed. The 1 week. It's now week 9.
Better. I don't know why they just didn't do it the 2 weeks.
They'll move it again when they add the 18th.
Yeah,
Yep.
I need an 18th game. We need that.
Thoughts on the challenge?
That
though,
means that
more
they
than the
get
trade
rid of a
deadline?
preseason game, right?
Good.
I don't like
Thoughts
that.
on the challenge? I think it used to be if you got both your challenges right, you'd get a third challenge.
I think if you
now
get-
as long as you get one of the two, you get a third.
If you get all your challenges right, you should keep getting challenges.
I
why,
agree with that,
Why
too.
should you be punished
Yes.
if they keep screwing up?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
No,
So if you get one right, you get the other.
I don't think we should. I don't think we should have any challenges. I think there should be an eye in the sky who's correcting all bad calls immediately, instead of wasting time with challenges. And now the referee's got to go look at the video. There should be an extra ref at each game in the booth, seeing high def. And if the call is an obvious mistake,
then
he
why have
corrects it.
officials on the field at all? Just call it from the booth.
Well, no, because you can't. They're not gonna see everything all the time. You got to have a lot of officials. But if that official sees something that's egregiously wrong on the field, if it's too close that you can't fix it in 30 seconds,
Leave it
move
go.
on. Move on. That's all.